all of it.
Ready
Turn that
for battle.
off. Turn that off. 5 seconds. Okay. All right. So like generally here, I mean, first of all, you don't exactly know what they're running, and we've already kind of talked a little bit about what I'm generally looking for. But I guess the key important factors here are preventing, and this is not just applicable to Doomfist here. This applies to Genji, Winston, any dive hero, Moira as well, Sombra, to a lesser extent because she's invisible, and you'll see why that's important. But if you can essentially poke out these characters or prevent them from diving you in the first place, your life is going to be a ton easier. So I want to try and never see that Doomfist engage onto you with full HP, because if he does, then something's gone wrong beforehand. Now, of course, that with the comp that they're running isn't a full dive comp, so Sim can both poke from distance and also go onto you with TP. Ash is obviously going to be poking at you from distance, and Doomfist is really going to be the only one going onto you. So I guess the two things here that I'm mainly looking for is, of course, the prevention of Doomfist, but also making sure that when he does go onto you, you're still playing spaces that avoid the LOS of Ash and also Symmetra too. We'll see how this pans out here. But I guess the main thing is preventing how many deaths that you have in this game, and preventing you dying to really simple dives, and preventing deaths to Ash, Doomfist, Symmetra, whatever the case may be. But also, again, we'll see how you position it in accordance with your team too. This again playing is relatively okay from the get go. I don't really care too much. You should be able to double jump up here anytime soon, or anytime soon up here as well. That's perfectly reasonable. But yeah, we'll see how it goes here. I'm looking for awareness, prevention, and just generally where you're moving to and why throughout the game. So we'll see. Okay. 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 I won't mention anything here so far. Okay. Okay. Yeah, small thing, right? So why did you actually end up hypering here a little bit earlier?
I thought they were gonna run in,
What made
but
you think that?
because there was, I remember, if I remember correctly, I thought I saw someone there. So I thought they would run, yeah, the portal.
Right,
So I
right.
thought they would.
Yeah.
So I thought they would run in.
Right. So this is like a thing that I call there's two ideas that are important. The first one is just soft engaging, right? So when you play dive, or when you're playing into or against dive comps, there are soft engagers and there's hard engagers. Soft engagers are just ones that are looking to play for space essentially. There's often like a cycle that happens here, which is like getting in, and then getting out. So for Doomfist, a soft engage would look like slamming in and then punching out. For Symmetra, it might look like TPing in and then TPing out. It's very, again, you're just playing for cooldowns, um, or to get cooldowns of the enemy team here. You're not really playing for kills. You're playing for space, playing for cooldowns. You're just posturing, is kind of the word often used. And here, there's not really an opportunity for your team to actually capitalize or punish the enemy team walking in here. First off, yeah, you don't really know how deep they're going in here. But secondly, you shouldn't really think that these guys are going to hard engage and go all the way in and commit positionally to kill your Ashe or to kill your Diva here. Because there's no trigger for that essentially to happen. It's hard for me to kind of explain, because it's kind of, it links into the broader dive macro. It's separated from your character, because this isn't just a mistake with hypering. It'd be a mistake if you were Brigitte and you were bashing in here, for example, and you were looking to hard commit and brawl them. It would be, I mean, I guess you could do that, but there's no real cue here. There's nothing telling you you could actually match these characters here and brawl them out, because they could just stand here and again bait you to come at them. So that's kind of my sort of biggest concern there, is that this hypering isn't that useful. There's no real sign to tell you that, hey, you can actually brawl them here. It's kind of my biggest thing. Now maybe if this is like if you could see them through the wall here and you could tell that
Oh, okay.
going
We're
through here.
5 stack here, and they did mention
Oh, okay.
that they are there. So I'm like, okay, I'll just hyper ring you guys and do whatever you want,
Okay,
kind of
sure.
thing.
Right.
But yeah, it was. I did see someone, and that's kind of why I did it. So I guess that makes sense. They do have a sim portal.
Right.
And
Right.
if so, the ring would have just been wasted.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you have some sort of coordination in terms of like if your diva wanted to really hard push this, I wouldn't necessarily mind that because you are forcing on Doomfist and you're preventing him from actually staging and going in early. Again, you don't want Doomfist sort of setting up here, getting a good angle in this room, controlling the space. I wouldn't mind that. Again, there's no real cue that either team are looking to really engage over this, or do something over this. But yeah, okay. I guess this minor mistake here as well is also the glides. I see this a lot with Junos where they'll just pop glides. Again, there's no real reason for
yeah.
this, you know. You can just double jump up here anyways. But yeah, might come as a bigger mistake later down the line. So far though, nothing crazy, just questionable cooldown usage for that. Okay. 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 Nothing too much you could do to prevent that. My only thing is that you're a little bit tunneled looking down here. Instead of, again, you could be up here where you've got a wider LOS. I talk about this with flex support in general, so not just Juno, but Baptiste and Kiriko as well. So if you're up here, you can still help your Ashe. Your Diva's full HP. I know you want to be within, full off distance and not have your healing limited by how far you are away. Your Diva's fine playing here. You can still help your Ashe playing here. But you can also see everything else that's going on down main. Again, you can look for an opportunity to get damage off into the Symmetra maybe. Again, if someone's coming through this little corridor here, you're aware of that right now. Whereas if you're playing back here, of course, you can't see anyone coming down this corridor. So again, it's awareness essentially in terms of what you're playing. Because your Kiriko can see everything here, but you can't. So it's a small thing there. Of course, I don't think you could have really prevented your Ashe or the Ashe getting a kill onto your hands with that. But yeah. Okay. So generally, when you use torpedoes, how should you be using them? When should you be using them? What are you looking for torpedoes?
If we're just poking, I mostly just use it to mass heal the team in fights, but in times like these, just to get a bit more of ult charge.
Right,
I feel.
right. That's fine. So like, it's kind of like how I'd say with Moira Damage Orb, where it's fine using it for ult charge at the beginning of a fight, but especially with longer cooldowns, what I don't want happening is you using a big cooldown like torpedoes, and then if you actually need it, i.e., when what should happen here is Doomfist goes in, Dynamite comes in, and that's basically when you need torpedoes the most, when there's actual aggression that needs to be absorbed, or if your team are pushing in aggressively, right? So here, if I see the aggression that's coming from your team, there's no aggression here. You're also playing out in the open against an Ashe, which is obviously not ideal. But here, your team can't really push the Doomfist because why can't your team push the Doomfist when he's already out?
Oh, it would be giving too much space.
Yeah, kind of, right? It's not. It's just too far, right? Simply put, there's no trigger. Again, it's too dangerous for your diva to drop down and push the Doomfist when he's used his cooldowns. Again, that is part because you're losing space on high ground here. That is part of the reason, but also it's just too dangerous for diva to commit boosters here and try and go on Doomfist because it's just too far away. Ashe can just shoot the diva here. She'll get burnt from different directions, and you're also one person down as well. There's no real cue, again, there's no visual cue telling you that your diva can actually follow up off the Doomfist here. Conversely, there's also no cue telling you that there's a lot of aggression coming from the enemy team, right? Again, Ashe is really far away. I think Dynamite's already been used. Doomfist is already out. There's no real aggression that you need to absorb from the enemy team, right? Your team's full HP mainly as well from the people that are alive right now. Again, torpedoes are a little bit, I guess, a little bit early or a little bit late, I suppose, if you want to see it that way. But again, there's no aggression here from the torpedoes. And again, next time when Doomfist goes in, so before his next slam cycle, or when Ashe pops Dynamite, or maybe when Sim pops TP, whatever the case may be, that's when torpedoes become extremely useful. For absorbing bursts of aggression across the team fight. But yeah, you can kind of see that because the torpedoes kind of did nothing that much. They kind of got a little bit of healing onto your diva there. Of course, there's a little bit of micro that we can talk about. So look at your POV here. In a moment, load replay code. There we go. Okay, so slow it down here. Right, so you get one lock on onto the enemy Ashe. Of course, you could have kept it on for a little bit longer and gotten a lock on onto the enemy Symmetra, and also gotten a lock on to this person. I think like the enemy Ash here as well. So a little bit early on the lock on itself. I always say try and be a little bit patient with your torpedoes to get full lock ons. But yeah, it's fairly a small thing there, but of course a little bit of patience there. Could have got Symmetra and could have got the enemy Ash, I believe it is there as well. But yeah. Okay. 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 Talk about diving in a moment. A little bit more. AFK. Okay, sure.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so a few things. Right, so we'll back it up a little bit here. And this might be, some of this will be like a dominoes effect, because of course you haven't got torpedoes for when they actually go in here. Nor do you have hypering. So I guess the two questions should become, what's the intention behind using hypering here?
Just for, I think I wanted them to reposition. They wanted to move out, so I said, okay, I'll
Right.
just ring you guys out.
Right, so what might the ring here be useful for? Specifically right now
Mm,
on the screen.
uh, I think it was just the spur of the moment. They wanted to move out. I said, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? What's Symmetra doing?
Probably just taking space.
Taking space,
Poking.
right? What do you think she wants to do? Or what do you think she's going to do soon?
Probably call for a dive or
Right, right. So again, this links into the prevention thing I said a little bit earlier, where if you can prevent this person from taking this angle, you never have to worry about being TP'd on in the first place. And this hypering to me, could be useful for, maybe speeding your diva and forcing this person out. Maybe getting the kill if you're lucky. If not, that's fine. You force this person to TP away. And then all of a sudden, their dive becomes a lot more scuffed. And that's when, again, this hypering here looks a bit useful. That's why I'm kind of asking you about the intention behind this hypering. Because your diva could actually use it and fly onto this person here. But again, I don't know, again, the communication here from your diva, specifically.
there's almost no communication.
Right, yeah. Which is again why this ring looks a bit dodgy to me, because I'm looking at the body language of your diva, and right now she is not looking at the Symmetra. She's currently looking at the Ash and whoever this person is, and the Doomvissir as well. So again, body language wise, if you saw your diva look at the Symmetra here, you saw her fly onto the Symmetra, then hyperinging her would actually be quite useful. That would be a good hypering, I'd say. Conversely, if she called it and she was like, I want to force out Symmetra, or she said that in any other way, then also using the hypering here would be fairly good. So again, the hypering here isn't good or bad, it's just dependent on what the intention is from you and your team. So yeah, I'm not gonna say this is a flat out bad hypering here, because it could be used to force out the Symmetra. And in that case, I think it's perfectly reasonable. But yeah. Okay. Where should you... So you see Doomfist go in here. What cooldown has he just used?
The punch,
The punch.
and the jump.
The jump, I'm not so sure. I mean, jump maybe, because maybe he slammed up, so... Yeah, so jump and punch, that's good as well. What could you do here against Doomfist? So how could you move, knowing he's essentially used both of his cooldowns here? What do your team want to do generally? And B, how do you want to move in accordance with that?
I think I messed up when I fell down, but I think I would have hidden the corner. I wouldn't jump up because my diva was busy. I think I would have just went to the corner
Like around
or
here?
there behind. Yeah.
Right, that's fine, yeah. What do your team want to do generally? Generally speaking, as a team, when you see Doomfist use both as cooldowns there?
I mean, I would have wanted them to just try to shoot him down, try to kill
Right,
him.
right. Force him
Then
out,
no
right?
cooldown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of the general thing that your team want to do. And actually, I'll give you this sort of framework that I use against Dive. I call it, I've kind of made this a few years ago, but I call this the SPAR framework, which stands for Scouts, Prevent, as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, Absorb, and then Rotate. You can forget the Scout stage because that's not really applicable to you, and to be honest, in ranked, it's not that important. Prevent we've already gone through. just now against the Symmetra, and the Doomfist here a little bit earlier. The Absorb stage is all that literally just it says what it does what it says, right? You just absorb the actual dive, and again these kind of link into each other, right? Where if you do the prevent stage if you do the prevent stage well, it's easier to absorb a dive. Again, the ways you'll absorb a dive on Juno is by keeping distance, generally using high grounds if possible, and then cover as well. And we'll apply those in just a moment. And then rotation, or the rotate stage, is again pretty much what it says. Right? I kind of just what you just said there, right? You're gonna walk up, and either kill. You don't have to kill, but either kill or force out enemy flankers or the enemy frontline. And right now, after essentially you've essentially absorbed the dive in effect. Again, Doomfist has used both of his cooldowns. He's not a threat to you. Symmetra is also half HP. He shouldn't really be a threat to you. Ashe is also really far away. He also shouldn't be a threat to you. So you've also got the space right now and the visual cues to tell you that, hey, I can actually walk up and punish these characters on my screen. Now, we'll talk about that in just a moment here. First, though, the absorb stage here. It's kind of why I kind of alluded to this just now, where you could actually double jump up here, and you've still got cover. You can use the blue boxes here as cover. You've got a distance against the Doomfist here, because and again, distance is important because it makes it more costly and it makes it more sort of expensive for the Doomfist to come at you. It's a lot harder for Doomfist to reach you if you're playing here further away on high grounds than if you were, playing a little bit closer to him. It just makes it harder for him to reach you, which is why distance is really important. It also gives you more reaction time, because you've got more time to react in case there's threats on your screen. But yeah, so you could play here by the boxes, distance, cover, and then again, once Doomfist, maybe goes away, or maybe he's blocking, like he blocks against the D.Va here, and he's giving up space, then you can rotate forwards and push up to this high ground here, maybe. And then again, you can shoot Doomfist, you can shoot Symmetra, you can shoot anyone coming here, you can maybe heal up your D.Va here in the meantime as well. That's your rotate stage there. But yeah, I would have liked to see you double jump here backwards and play by the boxes here. You can see everything, you've got distance, you've got cover, and also, worst case scenario, where could you retreat to if you were playing by the boxes? If you needed to retreat.
I'd probably just jump down or go to the next door behind,
Right?
like on the left.
Yeah, so maybe you could double jump over here and then leave, right? Or, again, you can go through here and then leave, right? So you've got a retreat path as well. There's also, again, I put this in my Juno guides and my guides in general. There's like 4 positional rules which also play into what I just talked about, which again are cover, LOS, FOV basically. So how much you can see of your team and the actual team fight itself, distance, as I kind of mentioned there, and then rotations. And all 4 of those rules apply. And cover, distance, you can rotate backwards here if you need to, and you can also rotate forwards here if you need to. And then, what's the last one? LOS as well, right? You can see everything. So that's kind of why I wanted to do playing back here a little bit. But yeah, I want to sort of give you that framework or that sort of peace of mind. And the reason why is because next time you're playing into dive comps, or next time you're playing on a dive map, you kind of can visually identify what stage you're in, based off of, again, the cooldowns from their Doomfist or the cooldowns from the dive the dive heroes, and then also apply that to what stage you're currently in. So right now, you're absorbing the dive, but anytime soon, you're going to want to rotate and walk up after the Doomfist starts blocking. There you go.
Alright.
Blocking right now. TP's been used as well, so yeah, right about here, you can see what your D.Va and what your Ashe are doing, right? They're walking forward here, trying to punish and capitalize off of the Doomfist essentially wasting his cooldowns here. Again, I think he's got Empower Punch here, actually. Yeah, I think he's got Empower Punch. You do not want that Doomfist to set up here. If he sets up, it's not going to look good for you. So yeah, walking up here would make sense. Good. Okay, double jump's fine. Okay, and this is where we come into, again, a dominoes thing, or a dominoes effect here. Whereas, let's put the camera here, and back it up here a little bit. When does the Doomfist go in? Right about now, right? So maybe, again, you're playing here, double jump upwards, right like this, and you can just see everything right now. See everything. Right, maybe Doomfist goes in right now, and then maybe this would be a good time to use your torpedoes. You can see everything. You see aggression from the Doomfist that you need to absorb. And again, you can get what? If you're playing by the boxes here, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 lock-ons with that torpedoes. And again, it's well timed because of, the aggression from the Doomfist. So again, you're kind of seeing, hopefully, how all of these ideas are sort of linking into one another. Again, referring back to that whole prevent, absorb, and rotate thing. Again, your torpedoes can really be used in any of these stages here. But again, it's based on the aggression from your team or the enemy team. So in the absorb stage, you're absorbing enemy aggression. So again, torpedoes here would be fairly useful. Of course, earlier, you can use torpedoes here, but again, that'll be based on the aggression from your diva, right? As we talked about, if you see your diva going in really, really early here and flying onto the Doomfist and forcing the Doomfist out, then maybe torpedoes could be quite useful. Of course, generally in rank play, torpedoes are going to be mainly used for the absorb stage here. And again, it links into the position stuff that we just talked about. But yeah, that would have been quite useful. Okay, hits both your Ash and the Kiriko there. Very unfortunate. So again, it's a slight dominoes thing there. Again, you could have torpedoed both. You could have torpedoed both your Kiriko, so your Ash and your Kiriko, and maybe could have helped them out. But yeah. Okay. All right. So you essentially you lost 2 characters. You lost your Ash and you lost your Diva. Where should you move to from here?
Yeah, the same places I should have went back to. Yeah.
Right, basically, same place you should have went back to. Come over here, right? You can still help out your Ash, right? You can also your Hanzo. I mean, you can still help you can still help out your Hanzo, but you're safe yourself, right? You can still play it. You're still fine. We'll see where you end up moving back to. Okay. Yeah, I think you use your gliders there, which is why, yeah. What do you use your gliders for? Right, yeah. Again, had you been here, you haven't got to use your gliders. I've kind of got a saying, you don't want bad positioning to force bad cooldowns. In other words, because you're out in open space, or because there's literally no ground that you can use, you have to use your gliders because of it. Whereas again, that's not the case had you been playing here. So it's kind of, again, a dominoes thing there. But yeah. Okay. And then we'll see we end up moving back to here. Okay. Okay. So, and even though in that first fight, it doesn't look like you could have done a lot, right? I think it's kind of indicative by your ultimate charge, by the fact that you only got 22%, and by the fact that you're hypering, in fact, all of your abilities there, really, they weren't really optimized. Your gliders weren't really used that well for rotations, either absorbing dives and moving backwards, or pushing up and punishing Doomfist. Your torpedoes weren't really used for absorbing dives that well, they were kind of just used very early. And your hypering as well wasn't really used to enable the aggression from your diva, or to enable the aggression from your teammates. Push up and punish Doomfist when he was punishable, when he used both his cooldowns. But again, it's that spar framework thing. I think that's the big sort of takeaway there from that first fight. And we'll probably apply it even more down the line here. But yeah. Okay. Get it up. Hanzo Tomo gets a kill there. Okay. And Hanzo. Fine. Okay. So it's not ideal, not amazing, but I think it's okay with how you use your cooldowns here. Right, so you swing in this corner. Now put your Hanzo. You start getting tasered by the thing with the Symmetra turrets. A Symmetra turret there, so it's a bit unfortunate that you're not slightly aware of it, but it's fine. The torpedoes here look a little bit better, right? Why are torpedoes here a little bit better?
Because it healed the Kiri and the Diva.
Right?
Well, I can just reposition again too.
Why is healing the Kiri and the Diva here? Not just those characters here, but why is targeting pretty much everyone on your screen here? Why is that important right now?
It could win us a fight by getting kills.
Why could it win you fights?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why could it win you a fight here, essentially? Why is using torpedoes a good time?
Mm, it could just kills them, I feel, right? Just kills
Sure,
them. They could be more aggressive because they're
right? So now we're getting
relieve the
somewhere.
damage they uhなんだっけ? Damage. Sorry, damage. I mean, they could do more damage because they're alive, and they
Right,
could push farther.
right.
Thing.
So it's kind of linked onto again the aggression part's the important part, right? Because you can heal your team anytime. Right? You can heal your team in a pre-fight, right? It doesn't really matter that this does healing or this does healing to this person. It matters when that's applied. And right now, that's you need torpedoes more than ever because it's high aggression from Doomfist. He's currently just slammed onto you and he's currently punching. Your Hanzo is taking aggression here. You can see a big fat red beam from the enemy Symmetra beaming your diva right now. There's tons of aggression being applied everywhere in the fight, so torpedoes becomes useful. Again, that's when, ideally, in the mid-fight, when there's tons of things to heal, and there's tons of aggression that your teammates are taking, that's when torpedoes become extremely useful. Again, there's probably micro here, so if I back it up a little bit, tiny bit, and I slow it down a little bit here. Right, you probably could have held on to it a little bit longer, right? So maybe you can hold on to it for your Hanzo and for the Symmetra too. So if the Symmetra walks up, you lock onto the Symmetra, and then you get that lock on onto her too. You can maybe even lock onto the Doomfist as well. But yeah, a little bit of more patience with the lock on. But in terms of when you're using it, I think it's fairly decent. Of course, Doomfist is going on to you right now, and he's very close to you. So there's a big red flag in terms of your positioning. But again, I think it's linked onto the last fight because again, I would love for you to be right here. Again, if you were here or if you were here, like this is an amazing position that you could have had you again flown from here to here to here. Right, that's kind of the process of how you rotate. And again, you're seeing
Right.
the dominoes effect there because this would be an amazing torpedoes, right? Not only do you target again the aggression right from everyone else, but you get so many torpedoes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 onto Life Reaver, 6, maybe 7 onto the Doomfister as well. Just based off where you're playing. So yeah. And of course, because you're playing high ground here, it becomes really hard for the Doomfist and Symmetra to reach you. So you're safer, and you do way more. It's kind of a double effect. But yeah.
Right.
Okay. Your torpedoes there would have been amazing, you know? Like you can see even there from your diva, just there in a moment. I can see, yeah, right. Like you're having to use hypering to move away from the Doomfist, which is fine. I think that's fairly reasonable here. You're kind of seeing the opportunity cost because look at what your diva does. She's flying in. Right, hypering here would be amazing. Right, imagine again if you were here, you wouldn't need to use hypering to go away from Doomfist, right? You would just use it for your diva here instead. Hypering your diva in when she's flying in like this. Use those torpedoes, and someone's probably going to die here, or you're going to get a big cooldown trade for it. Which I guess is the important factor there. Again, it's kind of like bad positioning forces bad cooldowns, right? Because you're here
Right.
against the Doomfist, you're gonna have a bad hypering here essentially because of that. But again, that could have been prevented a lot earlier had you just flown around here and you played the high ground seal a lot more. I think it again relates to what you said a little bit earlier about how you struggle to play high ground seal on Gibraltar a lot. And this kind of might be why, right? That fact that you're not playing LOS or FOVs, you're not really thinking about the high ground tier too much when, you know, Doomfist dives in here with both the slam and both his punch. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, hopefully next time you play Gibraltar here, when you play any dive map, not just Gibraltar, but next time you play Gibraltar here, you're a lot more conscious about playing the back high ground here, and also playing the back high ground here, if possible. Again, I'm not saying to play here permanently or to play it all the time. I'm mainly saying if you see an opportunity to get tons of aggressive value on the targets here for free, and you can see an opportunity to avoid a dive from Doomfist here down sort of corridor, then playing high ground here can be a great alternative. Or you can even play here as well. This is also perfectly fine for the same exact reasoning. You're far, you've got cover, you can see everything. Here is also a good position too. But yeah. Okay, we'll see here. Okay. Yeah, I'm dying, sadly. Okay. We'll see here in seconds. The code work, thank you. Okay. 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 Yeah, Doomfist, no cooldowns. Sure, he's feeding. Know what he's doing there. So yeah, torpedoes. Again, I'm not gonna cry about it too much because it's again the Doom is just fed, so it's probably not gonna make a big impact. But here, are your team taking a lot of aggression right now?
I'm sorry. My
What?
team.
Are your team taking a ton of aggression right now?
Why?
As in, are your teammates? So are your Hanzo? Is your Winston? Is your Kiriko? Are they taking a ton of aggression?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I think.
Right.
I think I clicked it while the Doomfist was still alive. I didn't think it would die that quick.
Right. But even against Doomfist, right? So go back here. Right. Even around about here. Right. He actually isn't really doing that much. And actually he's power blocking right now. Is Doomfist, when he power blocks, is he doing much?
Not really.
Not really. Right? Again, he's not aggressive, right? And this is the key thing. I think this is probably going to be one of the most important themes throughout the entire VOD. Which is, again, the aggression here, it doesn't warrant, it doesn't mean, it doesn't need your torpedoes here, essentially. You can just shoot Doomfist with your gun, and you can just shoot Hanzo with your gun. There's not aggression here that needs to be absorbed. Now, maybe we can change the situation here a little bit, right? Maybe there could be an Ashe right about, peeking this sort of on top of the box here. Maybe there's an Ashe right over here, and she dynamites your team. Then that actually might be aggression that is worth your torpedoes. So you can see how, again, we can change the situation slightly that can impact whether you want to torpedo this or not. Right now, I think Ashe is on the spaceship. Yeah, Ashe is like a little bit far behind right now. But still, again, this does not warrant your torpedoes. Okay. Okay. And we can see now, look at this, right? Is your Cass playing aggressive?
Yep.
Yes.
Kind of.
Kind of, right? He's got a decent angle. I say he's like fairly aggressive. But you can kind of see right now, using torpedoes would be a little bit more reasonable. Because there's people that you and your teammates can aggress on, right? The enemy Life Weaver can be aggressed on, because your Cassidy is peeking this angle. You should also have seen your Winston is playing left side here too. Right, yeah, he's looking for a dive. So again, eyeing up torpedoes here would be great. You can also see your Hanzo is also playing pretty aggressive here too. So you can kind of see, again, the aggression that goes on from either your teammates or the enemy team can warrant torpedoes or not. And again, torpedoes there would be a lot more reasonable compared to the torpedoes that we just saw. And torpedoes would be great. Like, look at your Winston, right? He's jumping in right now, going on the Life Weaver. Torpedoes would be amazing. Unfortunately, you haven't got them, sadly. Okay, I don't mind flying in like this. I think this is fine. Covering here is fine as well. Ooh, yeah, we drop off there. Yeah, so you think you get a little bit tunneled. So yeah, do you? I think this is kind of a whatever question. Why do you jump off the high ground here? Or why do you drop off the high grounds?
I think I just suck at doing that. I mean, what's the word? Like normally I thought I would have been able to land on the spaceship,
Right.
but yeah, it's just missed movement.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I think that you get a little bit too tunneled on killing the Life Weaver that you forget about landing back on the spaceship. But yeah. Again, I don't want this to impact like your later fights essentially, because we saw how last fight, the fact that you dropped off, you used your gliders here and couldn't get back to the high grounds, kind of affected the rest of the fight. And here, I don't want this to happen again, where because of one mistake, you can't get back to high ground, and then it's really tough for you and your team. So hopefully you can get back to high ground quickly. Okay. Staying on low ground. Okay, not ideal. What's the issue with moving in like this in out in open space? What's the issue with moving forward here?
Yeah, I'm just very vulnerable there.
Right, because there's an honor to your left right now. And there's aggression that again you could be aggressed on by the Symmetra firing orbs or by the honor shooting you with a gun because you're right out in open space. This is also a very platinum habit that I see. I call it the plat movements. Where basically, and
Yep.
you did this a little bit in the last fight where
Oh,
you saw your Winston jump in and you kind of press W key and you move forward like this. And I get why, because you want to be, you don't want to, you want to stay within your full off range, and I get why. But here, you can kind of see the effects of that, or the negative effects of that, because you're walking forward here, out in open space. You're jeopardizing the safety of your own position here, because you want to kill your Winston so badly. And whereas again, had you been playing, literally with your Casti, had you been playing here, that you're fine. You can still help your Hanzo, you can help your Winston. Again, he's kind of feeding here right now, but I wouldn't care too much where he goes if he goes too deep. If he's gonna die, there's not much else you can do about it. But again, if you play here, you're way safer. You're way safer against the enemy honor matchup. But yeah, I'm here. I'm worried for your safety. But yeah. Right. It also becomes a lot more hectic healing targets here when you're really up close. And let's put the camera here. Let's say you're playing here. And back it up a little bit. Right. Let's play it from here. Let's see. Right, so maybe had you been playing from here, then you could very easily kill your Hanzo and then maybe torpedo if you see fit, right? You see an Ashe over here, and in fact you can't see the Ashe playing low ground here because you're so tunneled and focused on healing the Hanzo. Again, this is why LOS and FOV is so important. In other words, the further back you play, the wider your FOV. The wider your FOV, the more you can see, and the better your LOS is. That's why this is so important. But yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Ring's not terrible. I think it's okay. Why is Ring here not? Why is Ring here pretty decent?
Because we can either use it to be aggressive or just go back depending on the situation.
Sure, yeah. I mean, what does your Winston right now? Does he look like he wants to play aggressive?
Probably not. It's just, I guess during that time I feel like I wanted us to go back a bit, give up some space.
Sure. What cooldowns has Doomfist just used?
Use the punch, I feel.
Yes,
Use the
yes.
punch and block.
Punch on block, right? So by those cooldowns, is Doomfist going to be going in right now?
Probably not. He
Probably
used two
not.
cooldowns.
Right, there we go. So got a cooldown trigger, right? You've got a cooldown advantage here temporarily. Conversely, is your Winston? Could he actually go in off of this? Could he punish the Doomfist or his team right now? Do you reckon?
Probably. The Doomfist tries to stay probably, but most probably. Actually, yeah, he can.
Right?
As long as it's LOS.
He's got good HP. I think he's basically full HP right now. I'm not sure about the status of his bubble, but I think he's got jump at least. Yeah, he's pretty much got jump already. Yeah, like your Winston wants to play aggressive off of this, right? Because Doomfist has just wasted his cooldowns, and he wants to punish the Doomfist.
Right.
So again, this is linking back to the whole spar thing, the prevent, absorb, rotate thing. Again, you're about to enter the rotate stage here effectively. I.e., in other words, your Winston is about to push up and walk up off of the cues that you see. And this is incredibly important when you're playing against dive, because this can tell you based off of the cooldowns, and not just the cooldowns, but the HP as well from your own tank. But the cooldowns here are a really important visual cue that can tell you when you and your team want to push up. So right about here, and this is reasonable, right? You're fairly equal. You're in a 4v4 right now, so fairly equal. That's fine. But yeah, your Winston can absolutely push up off of this, right? And he hasn't even got to jump backline, right? He could just brawl. He could just walk up and brawl the Symmetra and the Doomfist, which he's more than fine with, right? He can very easily brawl a Doomfist here because he's got armor. Doomfist has not got armor, and he can very easily brawl Symmetra because Symmetra has not got armor, and our turrets are fairly useless. So yeah, Winston can absolutely brawl these characters here. Yeah, he doesn't even need to jump backline necessarily. But yeah, the ring here is good because of that. Because your Winston can actually play aggressive here. Right? I think torpedoes here, again, for a similar reason, are okay, right? Now, I would let your Winston jump here first, right? So let's say let's put the camera back here. Let's say you're playing where the camera is. So now, when your Winston jumps in, now using torpedoes would be great. Now you can double jump like this, go into the box, get a massive torpedo, like 1, 2, 3, 4 targets right there, and then boom, you probably kill the Ana as a result from those torpedoes. And again, it's the aggression, it's the visual cues that should hopefully tell you and imply to you when your Winston is going to play aggressive. Right? And again, it's based on the fact that their Doomfist just use punch and his power block. And the fact that your Winston's good HP, right? That should tell you that should be he's looking to go in. But yeah. Okay. Not a bad use of cooldowns there though. Okay, nice, good shots. Okay. Sure. Fine. Okay, hopefully you can get back to high grounds.
I probably didn't.
Probably not. Yeah, was there a particular reason as to why you never got back here? Or never got... When I say here, I mean play the spaceship.
Because I was just probably following the Winston.
Right. Are you scared that he might just feed and die? Which is why you're following him.
Kind of, he does that a lot.
Yeah, right. So, again, he is very far up right now. Or is he? He is very far up right now. Here's the thing. I would not... The mentality I would have towards this is a similar mentality that I tell Mercy players when they're pocketing a target, which is, hey, if let's say you're Mercy and you're pocketing a Pharah, and your Pharah does a really dumb play, like she flies way out in open space, don't make one dead person 2 dead people. In other words, don't jeopardize your own safety based off of what someone else is doing. Some, in very, very few cases, it's worth doing, but I'm not going to bother talking about that right now. The general rule here, though, is don't make 1 dead person 2 dead people. If your Winston's going to die for this, let him die. Don't jeopardize your life for it, because that's going to make you lose the fight even harder. You should still be fine here regardless, you know? And actually, there's kind of a survivorship bias thing going on here. In other words, because you're playing with him, you're enabling him to play her in the first place. Whereas if you're playing back here, you're kind of saying to him, Winston, come back, because the rest of the team here are playing the spaceship here. So you're kind of enabling him playing here in the first place by pushing up in and following him around. So yeah, I just play the spaceship here. Don't worry about him too much. I think that might make your life a lot easier next time you play Gibraltar. But yeah.
Definitely. Honestly?
Yeah, because like, look at this, right? There's a Doomfist going on to you because you wanted to go onto your Winston so badly. So yeah, you were gonna say something just a moment.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, most of the high ground places I keep forgetting that they exist.
Right. I think a good practice. I actually used to do this back in the day. I've also talked to some players about this too. It might be worth either going in a custom and just feeling out the map about, hey, this might be, like, for example, like when I used to do this, I'll go into a custom and I would be like, hey, this would be a good position to play in this scenario. And then I'd move back here when these things happen. And then maybe I can move to here if this happens. And I would play out certain scenarios in my head about when a certain position would be good or not. So that might be something you might want to do yourself. You could also, solve VOD and do that yourself. In other words, Next time you play Gibraltar, let's say tomorrow you get a Gibraltar game, you could also watch back that Gibraltar game and be like, you know what, here's not a good position because of X and Y reasons. Maybe because you're too close, maybe because you can't see your entire team, maybe because you can't get good torpedoes, maybe because you can't get a good retreat path. Again, tons of things that we've already talked about and mentioned. And then you could be like, okay, because of those reasons, I can play here instead. And just by going through that thought process, you're more consciously aware, or sort of like you're more subconsciously aware of, again, playing these high guns here from the get-go. And of course, again, I think that factor that we just mentioned here, where you're so tunneled, or you want to help your Winston so badly that it's jeopardizing your own safety, is a big factor that's playing into it right now. Because right now there's a big scary Doomfist coming at you right now, which is obviously not ideal, not what you want. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. Again, hypering here, I think it's more than reasonable, right? Why is hypering here reasonable? Why is it okay to hyper in
Like
this?
my cast was getting
Right.
dived by Doomfist.
Right. There's aggression from the cast and the Doomfist, right? So hypering in here makes some sense. Torpedoes are also good too, right? Again, for a similar reason. My only complaint here is, you tell me, what is the only complaint I have here, positionally?
I ended up in low ground after the
Yes, right.
thingy.
So again, you could just very easily glide over here, right, and you're fine. Or again, you could maybe hop over here eventually, right? But the big thing here is to not drift to the low ground here. I have the way I like thinking about it, I tell this to Echo players and Pharah players too. High ground is kind of like your helipad, with Pharah and Echo, because you're flying all the time. That might be a similar idea you might want to think about, where, again, these are kind of like your helipads, where you can regenerate your cooldowns here. When you're on high ground, you can regenerate your ability to fly, essentially. But yeah, that's the only major mistake here, I'd say, is the fact that you end up on low grounds. But again, as I mentioned beforehand, you can have a little bit more conscious thought in custom games, by just flying around a little bit more and feeling up the high grounds. You'll probably be fine. You'll probably be more aware of using it subconsciously in your future games. Okay. Alright. Okay. Okay. Sure, eat speeds. Whatever. Alright. Fine, speed it up. Is there any... Oh yeah, I was gonna... Yeah, go on.
No, I missed the jump.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask, is there any sort of fight or points here in the Gibraltar that you feel like you struggle with the most? Maybe like attacking second, for example.
Honestly, I think we've covered the entire second point. I think I could have played it way better if I positioned well.
Right. Yeah.
I think we can go straight to somewhere else.
That's probably third points. If you get there, that is. Let's see. Load. Still seconds. There we go. Third. Alright, we'll see here. Okay. Alright. I don't mind those torpedoes. Again, it's a really early fight. I'll get them back eventually. Okay. Sure. Okay. Again, notice how the gliders here, i.e., your shift, not that useful. Hypering here actually does look quite good, right? Again, why is hyperinging this good?
I can move a bit more aggressively.
Right.
And I hit two of them.
Is there a visual cue? Yeah, so is there a visual reason, or is there a visual cue that tells you or indicates to you that your team might want to play aggressively here?
We forced the Doomfist cooldown.
Yes, right.
Jump.
Good. So we forced Doomfist cooldowns. You can also see that your Genji dashes in right now, so he's obviously playing aggressive. You also see the visual explosion of dynamites, big explosion, which again implies aggression. So this is a great hypering. This is a really good hypering. Keeps them on the back foot. I like it. Okay, again, slight. The torpedoes are good. Again, it's for the micro, right? So Torpedoes are good for, again, the aggression. Just a little bit more patience to get the lock-ons onto the enemies. Because you lock on your Ryan and your Genji, but you don't need to fire the torpedoes right now. Because, again, they're not taking that much aggression right now. And they're still decent HP. So again, you could lock on, or play, again, wait a little bit of time to get the full lock-ons here. Because again, you don't get any damage here. But small thing. Okay. Yeah, just find. There's some turret there? Okay, it got broken. Okay, let's say that. Okay. Ryan. Again, the shift it, not ideal. Okay. Okay, fine. Torpedoes again are fine there, I don't mind them too much. Okay. Okay. Cool. Look at your hopping there in a moment. Okay. Okay, so there's a few cooldowns here that are a little bit off-putting or a little bit missed. And this is where we get into, again, things that are a little bit hectic. So, let's see when you use Hyper. Helping Juno is fine, sure. Okay. So, yes, dude, so, tell me what you think about the Cypher.
I'm pretty sure during that time I just wanted him to go back.
Right.
And he was
Right.
anti too. And I think he told me he has no shield or something.
So, again, this is the important visual thing, right? So, can the enemy team follow up and hurt Orion in any significant way?
Probably not.
Why
Doomfist
not?
already probably used a lot of his
Right.
cooldowns.
So that's one big thing.
And he's
because,
already...
Exactly, right? So, Doomfist has already used what? Slam, punch. Yeah, he's using everything. Right? He can't go in. Right? So, that tells you that actually, you don't actually need to use Hypering. You don't need to use it because your team are going to move back here anyways. There's not a big burst of aggression that you need to absorb here, right? Conversely, what's the second reason that can tell you that you don't need Hypering? That your Reinhardt is actually fine. Your Kiriko is actually fine. What's the second reason that might tell you?
He's already almost into cover anyways, I feel.
Right, so it's so the first reason was cooldowns, as we just talked about. The second reason is overall positioning, right? Both from your team and the enemy team, right? But from your team, again, you sort of mentioned that they've got cover. That is one factor, but also look at the distance, right? These guys are miles away. Can this Symmetra beam your Reinhardts?
Nope.
Nope, right? Anna, she's already used nade, so she can't do much. Cassidy hasn't got a great angle. Doomfist, as we talked about, is already blocking. He's not like diving your Kiriko right now with Empowered Punch. Like, there's no reason for this hypering, essentially, right? So the hypering here is too early. And even though there might be a queue for this, again, maybe the cooldowns here from the Doomfist, again, maybe your Reinhardt wants to walk up off of this. Clearly, again, you said to me, hey, your Reinhardt maybe wants to walk backwards. That's fine, but you don't need hypering for this, right? This hypering only makes sense if your Reinhardt, for some reason, maybe he's got Shatter, maybe there's Kitsune Rush, maybe you've got Ray. For some reason, if your Reinhardt was to walk forward, that's the only time hypering here makes sense in this context. And again, it's the aggression, it's the visual cues on your screen that tell you that actually the team's fine, right? And it's again the cooldowns that you can see, it's the positioning that you can see from the enemy team. Not aggressive, already used their aggression. Cassidy, not aggressive. And Weaver, obviously, you don't really care about. That's the first mistake here. It's just too early. Torpedoes here, they're not terrible because again now they're starting to walk up here a little bit, but again there's no aggression here, right? Again, Symmetra is relatively far away. Doomfist here, again as we talked about, just uses cooldowns. Your Reinhardt can't really, he's not swinging right now. Your Reinhardt's not walking up right now. He's not swinging. He's not playing aggressively. Again, there's no aggression to these torpedoes. So if you play forward here, you essentially use both your cooldowns too early. And now, would you like torpedoes right now?
Definitely.
Yes, right. This person, very low. Actual aggression from their Doomfist. Actual aggression from their Cassidy shooting your Ashe. But because you used it too early, you can't help out these characters. And again, this is probably the biggest mistake that we've seen so far. Is that you're not visually reacting to what's on your screen. You can't tell exactly when the aggression is happening or is going to happen, based off of the visual cues. Again, being the cooldowns and the positioning of the enemy team. And this is by far the biggest mistake I've seen Junos make. In general, I'd say. In Diamond and also in Masters too. Okay. And of course, when your Rhino goes in there, again, the hypering there could have been quite useful. But yeah. Okay. It's probably going to be a little bit too little too late for your team, probably, so yeah.
Yeah, it was very late.
Too little too late there, sadly. Yeah, again, who knows, right? Maybe had you saved your Ashe there with a good torpedoes, you could have got a good Kitsune, you could have maybe farmed up that almost array, and you maybe could have won this fight, right? Again, that dominoes effect could go positive for you, essentially. Which is really unfortunate because your entire team are 30 to 40% off of their ultimates. This is very, very holdable. Again, that fight there could be the difference between you losing and winning this game. But yeah. Okay. We'll do a quick summary here at the end because I think we know the key things to talk about. And then we'll do ask any questions or answer any questions you have towards the end. But yeah, we'll use we'll use this wall summary. Okay. First thing has to be we'll say this. The visual cues of aggression from I'll say that, right? From both your team and enemy team. And again, I think the last fight there is probably one of the best examples of that. So I'll just put last fights. It's a really good example of that. And again, the cues would be first one, cooldowns. So to give some examples, Doomfist, Doom, blocking, or just mobility CDs. That could also be a Genji dash as well. Could be a tracer recall. Right. It could be echo flying. Give some more examples of that, etc. If these cooldowns have already been used, they're not playing that aggressively. Second one is positioning or positional cues. So again, distance is the big one. If both teams are far, then there's probably not much aggression.
Right.
But conversely, again, if let's say Ryan was very close, like your Ryan was like pinning in, he was swinging his hammer, he was heavily brawling, then torpedoes become a lot more reasonable. Then hypering becomes a lot more reasonable. Again, this is the aggression that you need to be seeing on your screen here. And yeah, I think those are the two big ones, I'd say. There's also other ones like numbers, for example, that we haven't talked about that much. And what I mean by numbers is if your team is like in a 5v4 or 4v5, right, then that could indicate aggression, right? If you're going to 4v5, the enemy team are probably pushing you. If the enemy team are probably pushing you, there's probably aggression. Again, conversely, if you're in a 5v4, it's the exact opposite, but for your team. I think, again, that last fight was a really good case of it, so that's, again, how I generalize that as well across the VOD. But yeah, it's looking at the visual cues and making sure you're using cooldowns when there is aggression. You're not just pressing your hypering here for no reason. You're not just pressing torpedoes for no reason. Second thing has to be repositioning, I'd say, in the mid fight. So what I mean by that is, again, you're gliding to high ground and just being a little bit more aware, conscious that higher, sorry, of high grounds around you. Also a link onto that as well is again it links into the second, sorry, it links into the first point about visual cues, because if your team are pushing up, maybe because Doom has no cooldowns, then you can push up too. And then I'll say last thing here for this is the 4 rules, i.e. cover, LOS, distance, and rotation. I think the example by the blue box is a really good case of it. On
Right.
first. And then last thing, I mean, honestly, your mechanics are fine. I've got no issue with your mechanics at all. Haven't really seen that much of your orbital array, to be honest. I'll just say this because I think it's gonna link everything nicely. But keep in mind, for templates against
Right.
dive. Again, prevent, absorb, and then rotates. And again, for these stages, again, you can torpedoes, absorb, aggression. I think a lot of the time, again, this links into the first point, or the first of these 3 points. You're using your torpedoes a lot in this stage here, when there wasn't much aggression going on. It was kind of a mistake. So I think that back to the first point. But yeah, I'd say those are the sort of 3 key points. Again, they kind of interconnect. They link into each other. But yeah. Have you got any questions or queries or comments, concerns, anything of that kind of sorts?
I think I got all of it.
Could you I think
I've
your mic's a
been.
little bit. Sorry, your mic's a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I think I got all of it. I've been writing them down too. Yeah, I think everything's fine.
Oh yeah, your mic's still very fuzzy.
I'm sorry. Is it working? No. Oh no.
Um, yeah, I can barely make
Hello?
out what you're saying.
Hello? Sorry. Is it not working?
I can still hear you. Like I can still hear you a little bit, but it's just very fuzzy. It's kind of the issue. I don't know what kind of went haywire there. 'Cause it was fine before.
Okay. I'm not sure why. But I got everything.
Okay, cool.
I think I got nothing, no questions I mean, I got no questions. I wrote down everything and I think,
Cool,
yeah,
cool.
I get it. I get it. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I think from what I made out from your mic, I think you said everything's fine. Um, but yeah, I hope if everything's fine, that's again good. Hopefully, yeah, you just message me. Yeah, that's fine. If you do, I was gonna say, cool, cool, cool. I've recorded the session as well, so you can rewatch it back at your own spare pace, at your own timing or your own pace. I'll link that to you when it's fully uploaded. So you can rewatch that. It might take a week, it might take a few days because I've got stuff to upload. But yeah, it should be within to you, and I'll link it to you when it's done uploading. Of course, if you have any questions or you think of anything you want to ask me, do feel free to DM me at any time.